Hey guys, so we've been talking over the last couple of weeks about how our marriages can thrive and our relationships can thrive even in the middle of this pandemic. When everybody else in the world is saying that, oh, your marriages and your relationships, they're going to be bad and they're going to be what they are during this time, we believe that they can thrive. And so we've been aiming at helping you with that. And so today we're going to talk about 2 F words that can help your marriage thrive. 2 F words that can help your marriage thrive. The first F word is the word forgiveness. The word forgiveness is an F word that can help your marriage thrive. And forgiveness has this misconception a lot. Forgiveness is, it seems like, it's something that's so difficult from time to time. But I want to reframe your mind around forgiveness a little bit, because forgiveness is something that we see Jesus do and model for us all the time. One of my favorite stories of forgiveness is the woman who gets caught in adultery in John chapter 8, and Jesus doesn't condemn her. He forgives her, and then he says, okay, go and sin no more. Go and do this no more. And so he forgives her and condemns her and doesn't condemn her in the moment. And so forgiveness is something that we see Jesus model. And let me tell you a couple things about forgiveness that maybe will help you reframe what forgiveness is inside of your marriage. First of all, forgiveness is what God wants. Forgiveness is what God wants. God wants us to forgive other people. When somebody does something against us that hurts us, that damages us, that we don't like, God wants us to forgive that person. Right? Well, then they don't get what's coming to them, or they don't get repaid for this, or they get let off the hook too easily. Right? We let God deal with all of that. All we can control is ourselves. And so God wants us to forgive them. Forgiveness is what God wants. Forgiveness is also a choice. We think, well, I'm not going to forgive because I don't feel like forgiving. Forgiveness is not a feeling. Forgiveness is a choice that we make. Every day, every interaction, every relationship, everything that happens to you, you have the choice whether or not to forgive. There's a story that I love that Jesus tells in Matthew chapter 18. That tells a story of a servant who has this massive debt that he owes his master. And his master completely forgives the entire debt. And isn't that what God's done for us? We have this massive debt because of our sin that we owe God, but yet God forgives the whole thing because of Jesus. God sent Jesus to take our sin. God sent Jesus to take our debt. God sent Jesus to take our wrath. God put our death and our punishment that we deserved on Jesus. And so God forgives this enormous debt that we have towards him. But then in the story in Matthew 18, the servant who had just been forgiven goes and finds another servant who owes him a much smaller amount. And he holds him to it, and he doesn't show him grace, and he doesn't forgive him that debt. And then the master of the first servant calls him a wicked servant because he acted in this way. But that's what we as believers do all the time. We accept God's forgiveness for our massive debt, but then we hold other people accountable for the debt that we think they owe us. That's not what God wants, and that's not the choice that we as believers need to make. Because we are forgiven, then we must forgive. Forgiven people forgive people. If we've been forgiven and we accept the forgiveness that God has for us, then our responsibility is to show other people that through the way that we forgive them. So forgiveness is a choice. Forgiveness is also a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take time. Forgiveness is a process, and that's okay. So we make the choice to forgive, and then it is a process. Forgiveness is also releasing a debt. And forgiveness is basically us saying, hey, vengeance is not mine to get. Revenge is not mine to get. This debt is not against me, it's against the Lord. And so God, I'm going to let you deal with them, and I'm going to forgive them. And I'm just going to let you be in control of whatever happens to them. See, the thing we don't understand about forgiveness is this. We think that forgiveness has to happen in a conversation with another person. Right? That has to happen in order for reconciliation to happen. But forgiveness is not between you and the other person. Forgiveness is between you and God. Forgiveness is you saying, God, I forgive them. And what I mean by that is I release revenge and vengeance and the debt. I release it all to you, and I'm going to let you deal with it. Forgiveness is way more about my vertical relationship with God than it is about my horizontal relationship with people. And that's the mindset shift that we have to make. Forgiveness is releasing debt to God. Here's the other thing. Forgiveness is not ignoring or forgetting or pretending something didn't hurt us. That's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is not forgetting it. Forgiveness is not ignoring it. Forgiveness is not pretending that it didn't hurt. It probably did hurt. And you're probably not going to forget it for a long time. And it's probably not going to be something that you can ignore. However, you can still do it because it's between you and the Lord. And so you can ask God to heal those things in time because it's a process. But it's a choice that we need to make. Forgiveness is also unconditional. It has no conditions. Forgiveness is unconditional. I have forgiven you unconditionally, right? God, I'm forgiving this person unconditionally. There are no conditions attached to it. I'm not forgiving them if they say I'm sorry. I'm not forgiving them if they make it up to me. I'm not forgiving them if they start operating differently. No, I'm forgiving them because it's what I'm supposed to do as a believer. I'm forgiving my spouse because it's what I'm supposed to do as a believer. And then the last thing that you need to know is forgiveness is possible. So many times forgiveness seems impossible because don't we as humans like justice? We like vengeance. We like revenge. We like all of those things. And in order to forgive, we have to give all of those things to God. And it seems so impossible at times, but I want you to know this. Forgiveness is possible. And so there are going to be things your spouse does to you during this season that it's going to be hard for you to forgive and not want to hurt them back or not want to take revenge on them or not. In this moment, in that moment when they hurt you, when they do something against you, talk to God, forgive them, and let God deal with it. Make that choice, and I promise that your relationship with God, the freedom that you feel will be, so you will feel an amount of freedom that you would not feel unless you forgave that person by talking to God. And so that's the first F word. We need to be people in our marriages who forgive. Your spouse is going to do something dumb. They're going to hurt you. They're going to do that. Forgive them anyways. The second F word that we need to make sure that we are doing during this pandemic is we need to be making sure that we are having a lot of fun. Fun is the second F word. Ecclesiastes talks about there is a time for us to have fun. So what does that mean? There are three types of fun you need to have with your spouse. The first is you need to have some face-to-face fun with your spouse. You need to get together face-to-face. You need to have intentional conversation. You need to engage with each other. You need to look at each other in the eye. You need to do those things. That's part of having fun together, is having fun face-to-face, engaging in intentional conversation. You also need to have fun side by side. And what I mean by that is your spouse should be your best friend. So go figure out something fun that you guys like to do and do it together. Maybe it's playing games. Maybe it's putting together puzzles. Maybe it's playing video games. Maybe it's watching movies. Maybe it's going out and doing something. Maybe it's going on walks. Maybe it's sitting on your back porch. Whatever it is, find something that you and your spouse love doing side by side as best friends together and go have fun doing that together. And then also you need to have some back-to-back fun. And what I mean by that is there need to be times where you have fun separately, where I can go off with my friends and Erin can go off with her friends and they can have fun with other girls and they can have fun with other guys and they can do those things, right? Guys can have fun with other guys and girls can have fun with other girls. They need that. We all need to have fun with other people, with friends, and have community and godly relationships with other people that we can have fun. And like Craig Rochelle says in his book, if we're willing to have some face-to-face fun and some side-to-side fun and some back-to-back fun, that's going to lead to some great belly button to belly button fun during this pandemic, if you know what I'm saying. So practice the two F words, forgive a lot, have fun a lot, and I believe if you do that, your marriage can thrive even in the midst of this. I love you guys. We'll see you soon.